Okay, we are now recording. All right, this is the October 7th Land Use Committee agenda. And I would like to call the meeting to order and do roll call. Molly? Here. Trish here. Gary, excused absence. Jim?
Here.
Brad?
Here.
Becky? No. Jacob?
Present.
Larry?
Present.
Thank you. All right, I do not have any chairperson announcements. Do you?
No, I don't think I do.
None. Does council members have any announcements? Larry?
I'd just like to say I'd like to figure out some way to make this a public meeting again, where we're not doing it just by Zoom, but people are actually able to see each other and talk to each other and see what's going on. Don't know how to do it, but I'd like to put my comment in on that.
Okay. You know what? Let's bring that up on the agenda next month and put it as an agenda item. Would that be all right?
That'd be fine. That'd be perfect. I think it's go back to the old school, but the way it should be, that we meet together and, are able to look each other in the eye and talk to each other. And
I do have to say that for LOCAC itself, we tripled and quadrupled the number of people when we went to Zoom versus when we were in person. So I know that's not the case for this meeting, which is a shame. But yeah, but for LOCAC, I mean, we were up to 80 people some months. So that's versus the 5 to 7 that we were getting before.
Yeah, we were that way at one time with LOCAC when all we had. That was way before COVID and Zoom and all that other stuff. We did get a lot of people. I think we're in a time now where we need a combination of both.
Okay.
Because I do like that more people are able to participate. But I think it's also important to have it in person also.
Perfect. We'll put that on the agenda for next month.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone here for the public that have
Trish,
comments?
can I just say, I just want to, it's not really an announcement, but I do want to point out that the website still has its meeting listed at 7 o'clock.
Oh.
So if anybody's wanting to tune in, they're going to miss the first half hour.
Thank you so much. I did not know that. At 7 p.m. versus 6:30.
Jim, may I make a suggestion that if you notice something like that, to try to let the chairperson know ahead of time?
Sure.
I don't know when you found out about it, but
When I went on to log on just now.
Oh, well,
okay.
That's a really good time to find out.
Doesn't, okay.
Yeah, we can have Gary fix that.
Or I have now learned how. All right, if there's no public comment, let's go ahead and go to agenda items. The first one is a request for a minor use permit to allow 1,144 square foot single family residence to be used as a vacation rental. And I think we have the owners of it here. So I'm going to ask you to unmute and maybe you could talk to us about the project. There you go.
Here. Hi there, how are you? Happy Monday.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
So I'm the property manager and these are two of the owners. So we're just trying to get an Airbnb started in our community. And part of the process is talking to you guys. And so we're just hopefully here to put our input and hopefully have an Airbnb.
Thank you. And have you talked to your neighbors about this already so that they know that is coming?
Yeah, so I've been doing all the paperwork for it. I'm just waiting for the first meeting like this one so we can kind of at least have the public video of us talking about the Airbnb, and then I have the letter ready to go to hand out to each everyone in the area for the notice.
Okay.
And could you tell us a little bit about the project, like how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many on-site parking spaces?
Yeah, so there's a garage that fits 2 vehicles and then a parking lot right in front of it that fits about 2 vehicles. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house,
Oh,
average
okay,
small, single level home.
okay.
Okay. And we have already checked, and there's no other vacation rental within the 500 square feet. So that works well. Are there any other questions from board members? Larry?
I would just like to make my comment on because there was an article recently about Cayucas becoming a ghost town, and it was our concern about vacation rentals. The same thing. Vacation rentals eliminate full-time residents that live here and go to our schools and everything else. Yes, there are business opportunities for the people that own the property, but when we came up with an ordinance about vacation rentals, our biggest concern was um, Los Osos being overrun by vacation rentals, and that luckily we have an ordinance that kind of prevents that. But I want to make everyone aware still that you're taking away a house that a family could live in and uh, enjoy the benefits of our neighborhood and the surrounding area and our schools and everything else by turning it into a business of short-term stays and stuff. And again, nothing against you and your project. Yeah, I mean that's fine. But it again, as the article stated, it became ghost town, Cayucas, because all the properties turned into vacation rentals. That's just my comment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Molly?
I have a comment just in response to that is I completely understand what you're saying, Larry. And I mean, I agree, but that is also why we had a lot of people work on that ordinance and come up with an ordinance that minimized vacation rentals. So I think it's some kind of compromise that we did with our ordinance so that, or with our ordinance so that we could have 50 or 55 legal vacation rentals. And that was supposed to be the max for our community because that was our community values. So, I mean, these folks are just going through the legal process to get it done right. And we do have a problem with illegal ones. I can tell you that. I think there's a lot more illegal ones than ones that are permitted. So I appreciate the family going through the process to get it done properly. So.
And I want to echo that. I appreciate you going through the process because, you know, I'm comfortable with the ordinance and with the cap we have on vacation rentals, and we respect people that go through the process to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's what we want to do.
Any other questions or concerns from council? If not, can I get a motion on this project?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand.
I didn't hear a second to the motion, and
The second was
Brad.
Brad.
Okay.
The motion was Jim.
okay, I make a motion that it be put on the consent agenda.
Thank you. On consent agenda. All right, so what that means is that is going to go on the consent agenda for our LOCAC meeting, which is the 4th Thursday of the month. You can be there to hear, but because we're consenting, unless there's something big that happens, which I don't foresee, it will be approved at the LOCAC meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You guys,
Thank you.
you guys have a great night.
You
Appreciate
too.
it.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Glad we could do you guys first. All right, our next item is to relook at the Travis and Houston house that we heard last month or in May, June.
I can't remember which month it was.
Yeah. That we heard that we had some concerns on. So I'm going to ask Jeff Edwards to unmute.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. So we're hearing the Travis Houston, the project for the cul-de-sac vacation was denied at our last meeting. And now I see that that's just been removed. Is that correct?
Now, are you talking about 348 Travis?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was unaware that that was the project you were interested in discussing. The address doesn't appear on the agenda, but that's okay. So, at this point in time, the road vacation is not being pursued by Mr. Setting? If that's the question?
That is the question.
That's what we were told by
So the-
the county
yeah.
planners.
The site plan has been revised to eliminate that.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other changes that we need to be aware of on this project?
Of course, the house has been reduced in size, I think, generally. As a result of, there's one garage now instead of the two garages.
No, it still shows two garages.
They did.
It's,
Well, I'm not sure you have the current site plan.
I do. I went over and over it with the planning department.
I thought the planning department told us that the detached garage was going to be removed from the project. So all
Okay.
we would be left with is a two-car garage as part of the structure of the house.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
there is a single two-car garage with access from Travis.
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, well,
Go ahead.
I have one question for you, Jeff. So in the plans that we received back from, I guess it was Dane Mueller from the county planning, the limited information there was about septic system did not mention anything about the type being a lamp or any other type. So I guess we wanted that clarified to know where that was going to be on the plans. That would be called out because it wasn't specified at all on your.
Our civil engineer, or the civil engineer on the project, has designed the septic system. It actually should be shown on the site plan.
It just says septic system. It doesn't say anything about the type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
From the
yeah.
Scott at above grade.
okay. The specifics, in other words, the construction documents for the septic system is usually part of your building permit application. So once the land use permit is approved, then there are a lot of steps, structural engineering, your solar design, septic is usually included, final drainage plans. So those are pretty much consistently required at time of building permit application, which is our next step after this process.
All right. Are there any further questions from council members?
Since there's this question of a step system,
Yep.
that we just let county know that we're concerned and would like that wording in there.
Okay.
That it's the most up-to-date type of septic system, that, because I think the county has already said any new septic systems that go in has to be this kind.
Yeah, it has to be a lamp.
Yeah. So that, it's a negative issue because even though it doesn't show it in the plans, the county says it has to be that way.
And I think
That'll-
you'll find,
And
sorry,
as
Larry. I was
Jeff
just-
said, that'll come up in the next
Ye-
process.
Okay,
Well, and in fact, to that point, the requirements will be included as a condition of this land use permit approval. So the county has fairly standard language on that.
Yeah, okay.
any other questions from council? No. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that land use supports this project, thinks it's a good idea, and that it goes on the consent agenda as stated, bringing up to date and everything, and it's a perfect project for the community.
May I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. All right. Thank you very much.
Trish, just
Yes,
the applicants for the
vacation rental.
vacation rental, they don't need to stay on the line if they don't want to. You're
That's
welcome
correct.
to stay for the rest of our meeting, but you probably have other things that you'd like to do too, so.
Like, go have a nice dinner.
These meetings are so fun and exciting. Come on, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We have to be here. You don't.
Yeah. All right, so Jeff, the next one is the hotel condominiums on Van Buren. Do you want to talk us through that project?
Sure. Well, I kind of a question. Have any of you been out to the site? Because this is a fairly well-developed property and
Yes,
lots of offices and businesses. So, okay, good.
we all have.
Okay, super.
We do our research.
Yeah, this project goes back, as many projects do in Los Osos, a good 20 plus years.
1996.
Yeah, so well, and actually, yeah, and the approval came a little bit later, I think.
1999.
Yeah, so in any event, and then the building and all the lead up to the building, that was a couple years actually. So in any event, this is the last part of this project. There are 4 buildings now. This site, the subject site, was previously approved for an office, the final office complex. As most of you know, offices are less desirable today, post pandemic, and so we thought long and hard about what the best use was for this remaining phase, and looking at the total picture, we concluded that this extended stay hotel was the best fit for the site and the best complement to the existing uses that were in place. On a side note, you might want to just be aware that through the community plan, the zoning for this property is changing from office and professional to commercial retail. And that doesn't necessarily have any particular implications for the project, but I did want to note that as that's in the process of being changed and hopefully will be finalized by the commission either late this year or early next year. As I may have mentioned, all the infrastructure is in place. The site's been fully disturbed, all of the drainage facilities, the frontage improvements, the curb gutter and sidewalk. You may know that this project constructed South Bay Boulevard between Los Osos Valley Road and Bay Oaks Drive when it was built those many years ago. So this really is a completion of the project. I would note in the project description that this is not an amendment to that D960321D. In discussions with planning, it was concluded that a new application was appropriate, and that's what we filed. That's what's on file.
Okay.
So that's a clarification. I noted that there were a number of questions submitted to the county and were fielded by Jeremy Freund.
Correct.
And so I won't go into that unless you're interested in any further clarification. I think, again, this is a great complement to the uses that are there. It's the project's actually to some extent overparked. And then when you consider the conjunctive uses, the hotel and the parking typically at nighttime, the office uses are more parked during the daytime. So there's ample parking on site and along Van Bearden Drive. As you may have noted when you did a field trip, or for those that went out there, there's a parking lot also that's part of this project on the east side of South Bay Boulevard. And that's often used for employees and to make sure all the customer parking's available. So with that, happy to answer questions. We would ask that that it be placed on your consent agenda for later this month. And I don't know if I mentioned, but I am appearing on behalf of Bonaire Investments, which many of you may know as Leon Van Bearden and his family.
All right.
So.
Well, there's Jeremy. Good.
Perfect. Jeremy, I'm going to ask you to unmute. We are just at the perfect spot for you. Well, Jeff, I do have questions, and I think I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to the rest of the council.
Could we have him clarify one thing that he said
Sure.
before we go in? So Jeff, when you said the zoning is changing to commercial retail, what do you mean by that? Is that a change that the property owner requested?
No, it was part of the 2005 area plan update, and it continued on with the community plan. So it's been a county recommended change. If you look at the zoning map, most of the commercial retail, this is kind of a corner that's notched out. So it really just, it squares up the zoning downtown for the properties fronting on Los Osos Valley Road. So it's county initiated, long-standing, and excuse me, nearing completion, as I mentioned.
Okay.
So the permit, and Jeremy, I'm very grateful that you're here. So the permits that I was looking at, even though you say that the community plan is turning this into going to be able to allow hotels, as of right now, it's only permitted to be an office complex. Do you know what timeline we're talking about that is going to be changed from commercial to hotel?
Well, you're asking me, or you're asking, so it's
Whoever
part of
can answer
it's part of the community plan update as part of the full rezone component. So once the community plan is adopted, the zoning changes from OP to CR. And just so that everyone's be aware, is a hotel use is a allowable use in OP as well as CR. It would be considered a special use. Therefore, that's why that there is a land use permit requirement for that. So because it's a special use.
Yeah, so just to tag on to what Jeremy said, the zoning or the land use category is what we call these use areas. This project's allowed under either land use category. So that's kind of inconsequential. I just wanted to make note because after 20 years, it's kind of nice to see it completed. So, but there's no hotel zoning per se. To Trish's question, it's what uses are allowable in coastal table O specifically.
Okay. The permit also says that you can only expand to 5 buildings, not 6 buildings. Is a new permit being created to change it from the current number allowable on the permit to 6 buildings?
Yes.
Yes, this is a whole new permit. It
It's
just
a whole new
happened.
permit. Okay,
Correct. Yes.
that's good to know. All right. The other questions I have is, if there's no lobby, how are people going to be checking in for this extended stay hotel?
Coincidentally, I just was out of town this weekend and stayed not in an extended stay hotel, but you can basically check in with your phone. And you can use your phone to enter the unit. So they've got it set up now. So electronically, you almost don't need management. Now, my correspondence indicated, Van Burden, they have real estate management virtually on site. And they manage residential properties, mini storage, and they will manage this hotel. So any support services are immediately available. As I mentioned, the tenant check-in is done electronically. The turnover is less with an extended stay project, so you don't have that constant, checking in and out that you might otherwise have at a standard hotel. So
Will you also allow people to come in for 1 or 2 nights? Or is it
Yes,
only for
sure.
extended stay?
yes.
So it could
There's no
be,
minimums. There's not a minimum stay, at least, and that's not a decision I've made or is within my purview. That'll be a management decision. I'm not sure what the minimum stay will be, if there will be one.
so we could have people in and out daily.
Yep, that's not the intent, and don't see that as a reality. But people can, again, I'm not going to be making the minimum stay determination.
Okay, I'm just clarifying. Now, it appears that these are condos, extended stay hotel condos, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, larger than most of the houses in Los Osos. So one of the concerns I have is the water use. If you're talking about 10 houses that Los Osos, and this, because it's commercial, goes to the head of the pack, and they get approved when people waiting 35 years for a house, which is much smaller than one of these units, are still waiting.
Well, we have Jeremy, did you want to answer that, or do you want?
I'd like to hear from Jeremy on this.
So this is a commercial zoning use. And therefore the water use criteria for residential use does not apply. So the growth management ordinance has strict regulations for the regulation of land use development for residential uses, not commercial uses. So, and therefore, when there was a question about, does the GMO apply to this project, it does not, because this is a commercial retail use.
Could you remind me what GMO means?
Growth management ordinance.
All right, okay.
So Jeremy, are you saying that this project could have been built like before the moratorium was over, or is it only, I mean, if it wasn't under the growth management ordinance, could it have built at, an earlier date?
If it were for a hotel, yes. Yes,
hotel.
it all depends on also about the, for sewer and as well as for the HCP for the habitat conservation component.
Hmm.
So there would have been, a process for those.
But the water use, as long as they have a notice to serve from Golden West,
Yeah.
that's all you care about, right?
Correct.
So
For
Jeremy,
the water use.
For the water use, right?
And I just want to be clear,
Larry's next.
say that previously there was already a permit applied for the, I don't know if Jeff, because I thought this was meeting was starting at 7, but if just, this was technically the location of phase 5 of the original 1996 land use development. And at one point they did actually submit a building permit for that, phase, going through that process, but it never got built. So that and then that's based on, all water sewer capabilities at that time. So this project, it's a new project. It's in the same general location, but it is a new project. And therefore we apply the, whether it's the water use situation and we need a water, we need a will serve from the, the water agency. We also need a sewer will serve, which we have. And as well, and that's what we look at for the commercial retail development.
Thank you.
But Jeremy, question.
Mhm.
Trish, is it okay to,
Absolutely, you're next.
aren't hotels in the building code somewhere that they have to meet certain requirements on water use? When I was in the hotels in Cambria, they were supposed to be equal to 80% of a household use. Aren't there codes that they have to build certain water savings into their projects? And then if not,
Well, that would be based on Title 19, which is the building code for the structures and use, as well as compliance with the California Building Code, CBC. And if development requires for title, I think it's 19 for the building code, talks about water conservation measures, then therefore the project would have to comply with that.
okay, okay.
For if Title 19 states for commercial use, and unfortunately I don't, that's the building division building code for plumbing, and I don't have that answer for
Okay,
you.
but that's a question I do have. Then the next one I do have is for a condominium. I know they have building codes for condominiums, which is the
Mhm.
house, which is something
But
that people.
no, well, just be clear, condominium for residential, there's also condominium for commercial.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
So they're different. They're
Different, I know.
even though the name is called condominium, the use that's applied is different.
I know,
It's-
I've realized that, but I just want that to be figured in. And I'm sure Jeff Edwards would say he's going to build these units, to the most water saving ability because he lives here in Los Osos
Mhm.
and is aware
Absolutely.
and is aware of our water condition,
Absolutely. In fact, Larry, there's an analysis prepared by a professional engineer that's part of this application. And it speaks to the very water issues that you're discussing. And the applicant's going to do a number of conservation measures in the rest of the buildings to update them, as well as incorporate a number of features into the new project. So it's water neutral is the key. That's what we're
Okay,
after, water neutrality.
I just want to keep this all above board so everyone realizes, you're not going in and building 10 condominiums, 10 houses, and screw the water and screw
Yeah.
everything else. I
Well,
want everyone to realize that you guys are concerned about it also. And you
Well,
are.
absolutely. And just another quick note is that the occupancy of hotels in our area, Morro Bay, Cambria, it's right around 60%, maybe a touch more. It's in the 60s, the low 60s for the most part. So that's your average occupancy. So these are not full-time. And the question of condo, that just means individual ownership is possible. That's the only real definition of condominium. Doesn't really have any other connotation.
And
I
for
just-
us, for the planning department, it's more, yes, it could be sold up for individual, but when we look at the water use, we look at the entire structure of the complex and the water demand. So it's almost, even though they're condominiumized, it doesn't, we just look at the entire use of the project. So it doesn't, the same analysis, whether it's condo or if it wasn't condo, would still apply.
So I've got a question for that last statement. So individual ownership is possible. So instead of having one owner for the hotel, the 10 condos in the hotel, they could
Mhm.
sell that off to 10 separate owners?
Correct.
Yes, but they have the requirements. If being a condominium hotel, it's not that they own it and they can stay there for a long period of time, like the individual owners. There are restrictions for that use.
But let's say they do sell off to individual owners. So
Mhm.
you have 10 owners who then they could possibly then turn that into their own condominium, correct?
Not a residential condominium, it's a hotel.
It can't,
So
it never can become a residential condominium, right?
It can
Correct.
never, I mean,
Yeah.
that's my
No.
question. Can it
Oh,
ever,
no.
ever,
It's
ever
always,
become?
no. It can never be converted as like a personal residence.
Because each
It's all-
condominium is not going to get their own water meter and everything else. There's one water meter for the
Okay.
whole facility.
So Jeremy, one other question I have about well, I guess the thing of a hotel being commercial use versus residential. Just wanting to get at this, what is the spirit of that? Is the spirit that someone staying in a hotel uses less water than if they are staying in their own home or apartment building? Like the difference between a hotel being considered residential versus considered commercial.
The water demand use is analyzed differently, and historically commercial uses, depending on the use, would actually have less water demand than residential use, because residential use has the indoor use as well as outdoor use. As everyone was aware, landscaping usually uses up a considerable amount of water. This project would be has to do all drought tolerant. There's limitation about landscaping. So to answer your question further, is the difference between the residential and commercial. Yes, it's analyzed differently. There's different thresholds, and Title 26, which is the growth management ordinance, strictly only focuses on residential use, not commercial. They have different mechanisms. They have different thresholds to meet.
Okay.
And this project would have to meet for the commercial thresholds about water demand and water conservation.
Yeah, well, and the reason I'm asking is just looking at this project. I mean, it just looks like a place. To me, it looks really no different than an apartment building, except it has a kitchenette versus a full kitchen in terms of the usage. People are going to be, taking their showers and staying there for up to, I think it said 29 days.
29 days.
But just
Doing
be
their
aware.
laundry, doing their laundry,
Any type of hotel component, depending on if they have a kitchenette or not. There's hotels like if you're familiar with Residence Inns that have kitchenettes. Those are designed. Those actually are designed to be. They're not basically short term as well as long term. That just because there's a kitchenette, there's a difference between definition of a hotel and a motel, but there's still a commercial use. And because if it's got a kitchenette, I understand there's a perception of being a residential use, but the idea is extended stay. Hotels allow for, okay, if you're a motel, then you are going to provide, certain amenities for people that are going to stay for an extended period of time. It's not that the intent for them to as much as we want the community to, go to restaurants and stuff like that, that's not the requirement, but for extended stay, they really look at giving amenities for someone that's going to stay there a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And this place is being permitted as a hotel, is that correct?
Yes.
So, and there is a cap on how long somebody can stay at a hotel, correct?
Yes.
So what is it, like 30 days or something like that, or?
I believe it was 29
29.
days.
29.
Okay, so it'd be under that regulation, so no one could like move in there. I mean, they could stay just like an extended stay hotel, like a Residence Inn is a good example of that, or people who are doing business in town have a place to stay
Exactly.
while they're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to be aware, part of economy in this project does require administration, like annually, of reporting of how it's rented out, or the whole sequencing. So they are in compliance. So they don't go over over the extended stay. And that's done annually.
I have one other question about, I mean, up until a couple of years ago, I worked in the fire service, and the California Fire Code had stuff in it. I don't know if it's changed, but it had stuff in it about hotels and motels that they need someone on site 24/7 in case there's an emergency to help evacuate people. So I saw that this had they were asking for some exception. Was that an exception to maybe to the fire code requirements of needing a hotel lobby with staff?
So I would have to look at the CAL FIRE response letter, or the fire response letter. So I can't answer to that fire code.
Okay, but I think it did say somewhere in our paperwork that they were applying to officially not have a lobby, even though they're saying they have
Correct.
someone
That's
working
correct.
there.
They did, and anything that is for the exceptions requests, it's in a request, and finally, it's written in the project description, but the final say and approval is through Planning Commission, because that's part of our Title 23 code section states that any exception requests have to be approved by the Planning Commission.
So
Okay.
Jeremy, do you know if there's state codes that regulate hotels and requirements that hotels have, like under business and professional codes at the state level that hotels have to follow in the state of California, that, it's above the county kind of thing?
That I do not know. I just know that the county will be for design and construction and, comply with the California business building code. And then as far as regulations about reporting, that's built in our Title 23 code about reporting about the stays. And our, the design and construction obviously has to comply with the California building code. So therefore, because we adopt it, and part of our clearances do require, CAL FIRE or the local fire agency approval of the project as well. And if there's any conditions that come out of their review, then, that's applied to the project itself. But anything above that, not that I'm aware of. The other agency that would be involved in this would be Coastal Commission. If the project land use permit, is appealed to them, if there's any regulations that they would, instill upon it. I think, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, because it's a certain, California regulates all types of businesses. I didn't know if California had regulations for hotels and motels, like cleaning regulations and staff on premises regulations, those kind of things.
My understanding is, we look at the land use code as like what's capable and what's proposed. As far as beyond once it's built, the construction again goes California building code. So after that, not that I am aware of.
And this is a general thing for me, is like, to me, this project is kind of, it just looks like 10 brand new vacation rentals. The only difference of the units not having a full kitchen, but having a kitchenette. So, yeah, I think I'm stuck on that residential aspect of the project. And do
Okay,
we
just,
really,
I would say that, you know, just be aware that this isn't a commercial
Yeah.
zone, or sorry, oh, sorry,
Right.
right now it's in an OP zone, it's still commercial use, and it will be in a commercial retail area. And I mean, there will be signage for the hotel use. And so, I mean, it is not, we as a county would not be recognized as a residential use. It's clearly a commercial use. And that's why we would be, you know, condition the project to do the administration requirements of annual reporting of how it's being, the renting of it out. So basically the frequency. So it doesn't, so that we're making sure they are in compliance with that code.
so
It's
they're
not,
just,
it's not a residential use.
they're just reporting that we had X number of renters on these dates and that kind of thing. I mean, they're,
Yeah, it comes down to that. It was also, you know, they're going to be paying TOT tax. So there's, you know, then that's based on number of units. So it is going to be regulated as a hotel.
So really, it's no different than any other hotels we have, like the Baywood Inn or Back Bay
No,
Inn
yeah,
or the
exactly.
golf course. It's
No
exactly the same.
different.
No,
All it is it might be thrown is because you're considering it as, you know, the condominium component. And everyone thinks a condominium, oh, it's townhome, it's residential. No, it's literally, if you're not aware, the entire commercial complex that this is going in is actually part of basically a condominium map originally. So all the commercial uses on this property already is part of a condominium map. I mean, so I'm just trying to, so there's no difference between that and what this hotel is, plus any other hotels in Los Osos.
Yeah, but the other hotels in Los Osos don't have 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, utility closet, kitchenette, living room, and a lounge.
There's actually a couple that do.
In Los Osos.
Yes.
you talking about that newer one that's
Nope.
down next? No.
They're actually existing. They've been there for about 20 plus years.
Okay.
And I would like to make the comment just on this project. It does take the pressure off of vacation rentals. Here's people that can come and spend a week or two, and it's almost like a house, but it's not. It's like a condominium, but it's not, you know. And people will want to stay there as opposed to a small single room hotel that they're staying in if they want to stay here for extended periods of time, you know,
Mhm.
up to 29 days. And it can have all you know, that I know myself when I go traveling somewhere, I don't like hotel rooms. They're stripped out, bare naked, you know, a bed and maybe a couch, you know, and that's it, and TV. And if I'm going to stay somewhere for a vacation, somewhere a little bit longer, I want to feel like a house. That's my personal point of view, you know, and that's what I see these are. I wish them luck, you know, I don't know how it's going to go, but I think it's a good thing for the community.
Oh. Yeah, I with that, but I have one question. Is there any limit on how many people can stay in a unit at a given time? Could a
Not that
Cal
I'm
Poly,
not
could
that
a
I'm
Cal
aware
Poly,
of.
could a Cal Poly student rent that and have 10 people per bedroom or whatever?
Not that I'm aware of. Typically,
There's no lobby, there's no check-in.
but when it
Person.
comes down, what it comes down to is how they set up the administration, and maybe Jeff can answer this better than I could. But like when you check into any other any type of hotel, usually they ask how many people are
Right.
in your party, and you
How
write
many
that down. Occupants.
Yeah.
And that helps, you know, there's many things that go into that, and that would probably likely be the same thing here. And I will say that as far as it being regulated, like keeping it at a certain number. We don't regulate that. What
Okay.
happens is if something is overly used and there's problems, that's where things come into is code enforcement, and the community saying,
Okay.
hey, we're seeing this, and they contact us, and we reapproach the user and see what's going on. But to my knowledge, we typically do not put a cap or limitation on that.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with with parking, like how much parking spaces we limit that, and state how many parking spaces for those uses are necessary.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think this is good for the community. It as Larry said, it takes the pressure off a lot of the rentals, and it's a new business, and Lord knows Los Osos needs new business.
Yep.
Especially if it's water neutral and it'll never be turned into a single family home.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll make a motion that we bring this to the full board of LOCAC at the end of the month. Can I get
I'll
a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for being here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I appreciate it.
And Trish, could when we schedule that on the full board, could we invite Jeremy? He's been very helpful in this.
Yes,
Process.
absolutely. I will send you the agenda, and it's at 6:30, the fourth Thursday of the month.
Is that gonna be the 24th? Is that what it is?
I know I'm covering for Deborah. 1, 2, 3. That would be the 24th at 6:30.
I think the word condominium is what's getting us all tripped up.
Yeah, that's not uncommon. Definitely fully understandable. Is the 6:30 on 24th? Is it also through Zoom, or is
It's
it?
also,
Yeah, it's a Zoom
it is Zoom.
Okay.
And yes, and you'll find that on locac.info.
Okay. And just for further clarification for tonight's meeting, because I went to the website and it showed it was a 7 p.m. meeting. Did you guys
Yeah.
start sooner?
We started 6:30, and we were made aware tonight that it had not been changed on our website. So we will be correcting that after this meeting.
Okay.
But your
And
timing was perfect, Jeremy.
We used to meet at 7 p.m. and then we changed it about a month ago to 6:30, and somehow it didn't get on our website, the change.
okay.
So we're
Okay.
going to change that.
And then as far as I know, it's being recorded, so therefore, if I wanted to go back and to rewatch, is the link still valid? I mean, is
Yes.
it okay? Because I went to the links and I didn't see today's agenda at all posted. And so that's why I was really, I'm like, okay, it's 7 p.m. But okay.
The file,
Yeah, it was
the file name is September, but the actual document is October.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
long
I did.
date on the document.
I did not open it up because I said September. Okay. So, but you said my timing was good for showing up when I did.
Jeff had just started his introduction and you were right there. So
It was
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Well, Jeff, hopefully I didn't step over your toes. Oh, I don't know if he's there or not.
All right.
He's muted.
And on that note, we don't have any further business items. So unless anyone from council has any, we will be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jeremy.
We're
Good night,
adjourned
everybody.
at 7:24. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.